Hey everyone, my name's Mike Tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed the last video that I did about the longest interstate highways in each of the states. Now we're going to do the shortest of the 1 and 2 digit interstates in each of the states. So we go from the longest to the shortest. And on this one, I'm going to do it by order, my numerical order. Like the other one I did alphabetical order, now I'm going to do numerical. Now, I'm going to get Alaska and Hawaii out of the way, with Hawaii having IH2 and Alaska with IA3. Alright, now the disclaimer I have for these interstates, there are no 3-digit interstates on my list. Also, ECW do not apply here, so I did not include those, and I'll mention more as we go along here too. So we'll go into the lower 48 now. I-4, and you can figure out where I-4 is in Florida. It is 132 miles long, and according to Beaver Geography and other places, I-4 is the dangerous interstate in this country. So if you have not watched Beaver Geography's video on that topic, I highly recommend watching it. Now, I-10, it's a long interstate, but it has 2 states where it's the shortest interstate, 2-digit interstate in that state. Alabama and New Mexico. Mississippi is on that list too, but here's the thing. I-69 came to be in Mississippi. And right now, I-69 is the shortest in that state. But with the extension of it, if it gets built, will I-69 be longer than I-10 in Mississippi, or will I-69 be shorter than I-10? We'll have to wait and see on that. But right now, it's just Alabama and New Mexico for I-10. I-11, Nevada. And of course, Interstate 15 was the shortest until I-11 was built, and then figuring out if I-11 is going to be extended. We'll have to wait and see on that. Now, I-15 we were just talking about, but it also has a state where it's the shortest 2-digit interstate. Well, it's actually the shortest interstate in the whole state of Arizona, and that's I-15. Alright, so the next highway is Interstate 24. Now this one, it has 2 states, Kentucky, and then in Georgia, it makes a little dip right down from Tennessee, intersects with I-59 at its northern end, and then it goes back up into Tennessee to go to Chattanooga. It's weird, but it's the shortest interstate in the great state of Georgia. Now, I-29, it has 2 states as well, and there's only 2-digit interstates in both North and South Dakota. So if the longest is 90 in South Dakota, 94 in North Dakota, and the 29 is the other one, what answer fills in that is actually I-29. So that's why I-29 is like that. Alright, the next one is I-35. And I-35 actually has 2 of the 3 states are bordered. And that's Kansas and Oklahoma. And then it also is the shortest in Minnesota. Even though it has the E and the W. And like I said, we're not counting those, so. Alright, I-40. This one's a long interstate also, but obviously enough, the shortest portion of I-40 is in California. Now, the next interstate, 41, is the shortest interstate in Wisconsin. But it also, for a few feet, in the state of Illinois, is the shortest interstate in Illinois, I-41. And it shares a concurrency with I-94. Doesn't make sense, but it is what it is. So now I-44 is the shortest interstate in the great state of Texas. Now I-55 has two states, Tennessee and Arkansas. In the great state of Tennessee, it only goes for like 12 miles, and that's Memphis. And then it goes into Arkansas for a little bit, and then all that good jazz. So that's why. Now, I-59, you have one state. And that, you're probably thinking it's Georgia. No, it is not the great state of Georgia. It's actually Louisiana that I-59 is on the list for. From Slidell up to the Mississippi border. And it also meets up with I-12 and then I-10. The next interstate we talked about a little bit about this was 69, and that's Mississippi. And we talked about it, so I'm going to skip on that one. Next one is I-70, and it has one state, and it goes through a panhandle. And the panhandle is in West Virginia, where Wheeling is. And here's a fact, too. I-70 is the only interstate in West Virginia to have a child interstate. And if you don't know what a child interstate is, it's a 3-digit interstate from its parent. And that's 470 from Ohio into West Virginia. The next interstate we're going to talk about is I-72, and it goes a little bit distance in the state of Missouri. It's Missouri's shortest 2-digit interstate. I-72 is mostly associated with the state of Illinois. The next interstate is actually where its eastern end is and its western end is I-74. And you can claim that there's an I-74 in North Carolina, but it's not the shortest in North Carolina. It is the shortest in Ohio, as of right now, where the eastern end of that part of the original I-74 ends. And then in Iowa for a few miles, and that's where I-74 has its western end. The next interstate we're going to talk about is I-76, and it's coast to coast here, guys. So I-76, the shortest interstate for Colorado and Nebraska, on that whole I-76 stretch there. And then it only goes into New Jersey for a couple of miles after visiting Philadelphia. Now, I wish that I-76 would have been extended from where it ends in Camden to along New Jersey 42 and end in Atlantic City. That would have been nicer. The next interstate we're going to talk about is I-77. And I-77 beats out I-85 in both Virginia and South Carolina. Also, I-77 for Virginia has a concurrency with I-81 in the opposite direction. I-81 north, I-77 south, I-81 south, I-77 north. So that's a wrong way concurrency right there in southwestern Virginia. I-78 only goes into the Holland Tunnel and goes around a rotary and has all its exits along that rotary traffic circle. And that is in the great state of New York, where I-78 does that. The next interstate on this list is I-81. And it only goes about 12 miles in Maryland, near Hagerstown. And it goes along with US 11. And that's where it meets up with I-70 as well. I-82, it has two states and they border each other. I-82 is the shortest in both Oregon and Washington. And here's the fact about I-82 real quick. I-82 is north of I-84. And that's because I-84 used to be I-80N. Now, it's I-84. And it's like crazy how it could be north of that. But it could be an extension of I-11 someday. Now, the next road we're going to talk about is that I-84. And like I-76 before, it also goes to two states, and it's on two different sections. Utah and Massachusetts both have I-84 as the shortest two-digit interstate in each of those states. The next one is another one of those, I-86, where it's the shortest in Idaho, and then the shortest in Pennsylvania. And with the Pennsylvania one, it goes into Pennsylvania for like 3 or 4 miles to intersect with I-90. And then once it's in New York, near Waverly, it does dip down a little bit into Pennsylvania, has an exit, and goes back up into New York. Crazy, I know. But it's the truth on that one. Now, you're going to think the next one, I-87, how can I say I-87 for New York? Well, I-87 on this list is not for New York. It's actually for North Carolina. And they're going to try to extend I-87 to make it from Raleigh to Norfolk someday. But right now, it's just in the Raleigh area. The next one, you're going to think, it's the longest interstate in the country, but why is it on this list? It's on the list because it's the shortest interstate in the great state of Wyoming. And I'm talking about I-90. I-90 is the shortest two-digit interstate in the state of Wyoming. You have I-80, I-25, and then I-90. That, I don't know, hey, I didn't make this up, it's just the facts. So, the next interstate we're going to talk about is I-91. And I-91 is Connecticut. You're thinking, why is I-91 on this list? And Connecticut's not even the shortest distance that I-91 goes through. That honor goes to Massachusetts, but like I already said, I-84 is the shortest in Massachusetts. So you have Connecticut with I-91 that is the shortest in the state of Connecticut. Alright, the next one is I-93. I-93 makes the list because it's the shortest one in Vermont, with only 11 miles from the Vermont border to its end at I-91 in St. Johnsbury. The next one on the list is I-94, and this one has two. In Indiana, where it makes a little curve along Lake Michigan, and then in Montana, where it ends at I-90. Alright, now the next one, 3 out of the 5 states, it's the only two-digit interstate that goes through that state. So, it's both the longest and the shortest, and that's I-95. And the 3 states are Maine, Rhode Island, and Delaware. However, it gets to add New Hampshire to that list, because it goes along the coastline. And then Washington, D.C., where it goes for a teeny tiny bit of it. So that's why I made the list there. And then finally, I-96 you guessed it, Michigan. And it's a one-state interstate. So it goes from Grand Rapids to Detroit. So I just want to thank everyone for enjoying this video. Hopefully you give me a thumbs up, give it a like. I'm going to try to do more on interstate facts, like the most children in each state and all that. So we'll figure out how to go along, and I hope you guys have a safe trip wherever you're going, if you're going on a road trip this summer. And we'll talk soon.